Hey everyone, this is Dr. Drizzle and welcome to the National Parks Expedition Challenge. Today we are at our newest national park, the New River Gorge, with my brand new friend Ranger Leah. Ranger Leah, thank you so much for having us here today.
Oh, thank you for coming.
This is absolutely beautiful. I have come to the New River Gorge quite a bit in my lifetime, but now to know that we have that official designation as a national park is really exciting. So how did you get here?
So this area is home for me. So I didn't have to go that far, but it is wonderful because it allows me to share not only my home, but share the idea of the national parks across the country, which is something that some people in this area are familiar with and others may not be. So it gives me lots of opportunities to share. That's what's really important.
What was your degree in college or your study in college that made you want to do this?
So how I came into this job, I was going to college and studying elementary education. I always thought that inspiring the next generation would be a great job and give you so much variety. When I was in college, I got a seasonal position here. It's like a 6-month summer job, and I absolutely fell in love with it and found out that there were far more ways to teach than just inside the four walls of a classroom.
I love that, and I love that your desire to teach young kids is still what you are doing here today in this huge classroom.
Absolutely. You can cover so many topics too, and it's not just children, it's adults as well. So just that opportunity to teach, share, and inspire.
When did this place become a national anything? The first designation?
So this area has been a national park site since 1978. So for 40 years it's had some level of protection. And then in late 2020, this got its National Park and Preserve designation, which is really neat because most people know New River Gorge as a recreational destination. And while we're very fortunate to have lots of outstanding recreation opportunities here, the park has so much more to offer. And that designation is just a little bit better reflection of what the park has.
Well, you mentioned that it has a lot to offer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we have world-class mountain biking, rock climbing, and whitewater rafting here. But we also have some other important stories, such as the coal mining, railroading, and timbering industries here that helped fuel the Industrial Revolution. So some of those stories, some farming. Most people aren't going to associate New River Gorge with farming, but we have some early farmsteads in the park. So a variety of stories that way.
How big is this place?
We are just about 70,000 acres and 53 miles of river. In addition to the history and the recreation here, because we are long and narrow and in that corridor, it gives us a great biodiversity here as well. We've got lots of birds, a little over 1,400 plant species here from rim to river. So just a lot of variety.
So I read on one of the brochures that there's 4 main parts of this park. Could you tell us about those?
Sure. So as a New River Park and Preserve, the majority of the park is what we would call the preserve. But there are individual areas that are designated as the park. All in all, I think that's right around 4,000 acres. Which this area, Thurmond, is one of the national park pockets. The lower New River Gorge is designated as a national park area. Another area in our south district of the park where the river is a lot wider, a little slower moving, the Sandstone Falls. And another area, which is again up on the top rim of the gorge looking down onto the river, is Grandview, another pocket with national park designation.
So we're here at Thurmond right now. What's the history behind this place?
Thurmond is in a pretty amazing spot in the big picture. If you were to drive here, it is about 7 miles off the main road. So when a lot of people get here, it is more of a sense of isolation and, oh my goodness, why is this so far back, tucked away? But in the early 1900s, this was the place to be. You know, the closer you were to the railroad tracks, the better your town was. And Thurmond was a railroad town. You know, putting it in the frame of early 1900s versus today in transportation, where everybody drives their cars or flies places, this was the interstate system. So to go to, you know, a neighbor's house several miles up the river, or to go to somewhere else in the country, you took the train. And this was where it kind of started for this area of the gorge.
So Ranger Leah, this sounds so amazing, but that building right there, I have to go in. Is that a possibility?
That would be perfect. Let's go. Newer as far as steam engines go, but that was one. They used to do a steam excursion through the park. But this one, I don't know whether the glare is on. That is downtown. Really a special event, just not sure exactly what it was. But in 1910, this was the highest revenue producing depot on the entire Chesapeake and Ohio Railway. The population of Thurmond proper was never over 500. However, there was a Masonic lodge on the other side of the gorge that had membership of over 1,000. Upstairs was more of the internal operations. But so yeah, the passenger trains, they said that the doors downstairs on the baggage room never closed because there were always trains coming in and out. And I mean, pretty much everything that you would need for life in the gorge came in by train. So there would be baby chicks in the spring, coffins came in there, furniture, fruits, you name it. And when the train cars came in, you know, it might be 10 cars from one mine, 20 from another. They'd put them all together to make longer trains going back and forth. So the yardmaster was in charge of knowing how many empty cars were here, how many full cars here, how many did you need to send somewhere else. railroad employed a lot of people. Whether it was crews that did repairs to the engines or the cars, the people that worked on boilers, welders, or actual train crews, engineers and conductors. There were a lot of opportunities.
Did Thurmond die out, or?
Well, you know, it started 1920s or so, certainly after the Great Depression, but the big thing that was, well, there were multiple things that contributed to the decline of Thurmond. One of them, and probably the biggest, was access to automobiles.
Do you hear that sound? That is the sound of a telegraph. We are actually in the Thurmond Train Depot here with one of my old guys who is actually a telegraph officer. Now, what we heard from the ranger earlier is that this was the central hub of communication for the town of Thurmond. This was the working internet at the time. When kids were in school and thinking about what they wanted to be when they grow up, working near a train station, obviously they wanted to be an engineer, but the second job they wanted to be was a telegraph operator. When things happened in the town, this is where they would get the news. They could send out for help. They could find out when trains were coming in. They could find out maybe blizzards and weather. So this was what we now call our internet or our cell phone service. What I want you guys to do is to create your own working telegraph. That's right. I'm going to ask you to draw on your knowledge of simple machines and create a small telegraph that you can take a picture of, a video of, and write instructions for building, because we want you to share that so that the rangers can see your designs and possibly choose one of your designs to premiere here in the train depot. So again, thinking about how you would get the machine to work so you could use the Morse code, or if you want to try a different type of code, you could give us instructions for that. Make sure you tag it on social media at Dacia92 and look below for the tag for the New River Gorge. We cannot wait to see what you create using this model, but bringing it a little bit into the future. So Leah, this has been a really great day, and we're so excited to share this with kids, and they're going to enjoy just being here virtually. But I have to tell you, of the thousands and thousands of kids that watch this, there are some that want your job. I know that that's true, that they want to be a park ranger and probably even be a park ranger here. So if you wouldn't mind, just talk to the camera for a minute and tell the kids what they can do to get prepared.
Sure. I would say if you are interested in a job with the National Park Service, one of the best ways to start is to get to know your parks. Learn what parks are out there, because there's a huge variety. And whether you want to live in a city, or whether you want to live in a big park that's fairly remote somewhere, you have those opportunities. Find the things that interest you. What inspires you? How can you share that with others? Because that's really what the parks are about. Preserving those stories, preserving those opportunities for folks to learn more and to learn about the good, maybe not so good, or confusing parts of U.S. history.
Perfect. And we say in our National Parks Expedition Challenge that we want our passion to intersect our purpose. So I think that's great. So thank you so much for being here with us today at the New River Gorge National Park number 63. You have a beautiful place to work. How cool is this that you get to come out into nature for your job every single day? That's it for us today, folks. We want you to remember that you can visit the national parks in person or virtually. Make sure you check out our website. We're excited for you to intersect your passion with your purpose. So, Dr. Drizzle from the New River Gorge with Ranger Leah, we're out of here.